Welcome to the Simply for Life podcast. I'm Bethany Gettis, your host, a former diet and health nurse turned certified holistic nutritional consultant with over 16 years of experience in the health and wellness space. I'm here with Bruce Sweeney. He is the Simply for Life founder and integrative nutritionist with over 30 years of expertise. Join us on the Simply for Life journey as we explore nutrition, hormonal balance, and well-being for a healthier, longer life. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank you, Bethany. Feel alive and strong today, so it's going to be a good one.
That's good. We always want to hear that. So today's topic, we're actually going to be talking about the gut-brain connection and how nutrition actually affects mental health.
Yeah.
This is a big topic for sure. So let's kind of go into first explaining actually what the gut-brain connection is and how nutrition actually influences our mental health.
Yeah, more and more people are getting familiar. I still think we use terminology. It's hard to understand the gut microbiome, your ecosystem. But I have a simple way for people to understand the gut-brain axis or the gut-brain connection. And we always make fun, I have a gut feeling. And just to tell you how much we're connected, I don't know about you, Bethany, but when you do a presentation for me, I get nervous the first 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I feel it in my stomach. And sometimes if I get nervous way ahead, I got to hit the washroom. So some people, when they get nervous, they have issues with digestion. They're not digesting food, or just the thought of food gives us the gastric juice to digest, right? So there's a huge connection. So when you eat healthy, there's two scopes. There's the unhealthy eating and healthy eating. And one explanation, analogy I've always used with my clients to keep this very simple. So everybody talk about the enteric nervous system or the vagus nervous system. This is kind of two-way dialogue between the brain and the gut. But what I use with my clients is that when you eat well, it's like having a house. House as is equally important as a workplace. And every day you go to work. You go to work, and if you're happy at the workplace, you make a good salaries, you can come back, you can put food on the table, pay your mortgage, pay the heating costs, all goes well, everybody's happy home. So you can either choose the house or the work for gut or brain. But then when you start eating junk food, or you have stress, you drink too much alcohol, you're not sleeping well, there's a dysfunctioning happening. So this could be maybe that it's your car that has an exhaust issue or no oil issue, it starts leaking. And workplace, well, the boss is causing you stress and we're taking a pay decrease. And then when you get back home, you cannot pay your mortgage. And now it's causing stress and you cannot put all the food you want on your table. So it's so important, that connection, we cannot say enough. And I think you and I, we've been vibrant enough and excited about this new field that the gut is the second brain. Think about this. One of my French nutritionists correct me because I've been saying for the longest time that 70% to 75% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. But science, and he showed me I was wrong, 90% of serotonin, everybody's familiar, is produced in our gut.
Yeah.
Like, holy
that's a lot.
jeez. And when you think of everybody's getting more involved into their hormones right now, well, the gut mediates our brain. This is the catalyst or the chief driver of how much, there you go, the brain. I talk about the brain, I got these special effects, but how we produce hormones to talk to your thyroid, you talk to your adrenal, everything is so interrelated. But at the same time, everything goes reverse when we're not really taking good care of our gut. And that's when we step into an inflammatory state. We start hearing about autoimmune, our bodies attacking our own immune system, so forth, so on. So the gut and brain connection, I think it's one of the most important field of our time. And it has to do with everything about living.
That's so interesting. And I've noticed that a lot, even sort of myself and clients and stuff, is in the last several years, just with, I think, the amount of stress everybody's been under. There's been a lot more gut inflammation, people
Oof.
coming in with like skin issues, and it's all manifesting again from the gut itself. And you think about even just in simple terms of sitting down and eating when you're in a stressed out environment, or you're not having a good day and you're eating something, it's like you're not really digesting it properly because your body's in this state of panic. And in the wild, really, that's like the fight and flight response. Like your body isn't actually putting the blood flow towards your digestion, it's putting the blood flow towards your limbs to run away. So it's not really the best place to sort of sit and eat when you've just kind of had that, like, you've got your mortgage bill sitting in front of you and you're stressing out, or you're having, an
Yep.
argument with your spouse, or your kids are driving you crazy. It's like you need to sort of like relax your nervous system before you eat.
And I'll tell you, I'll put a bold statement, and a lot of people are pointing out there, but I think we can slash, I'm talking about low level, medium depression and mental health, by just really, really educating everybody about the power of the gut brain connection in a
Yeah.
holistic way. And I think that severe depression can be much more tolerate. I'm
Yeah.
not saying reversing it, much more
Right.
tolerate with that. It's absolutely amazing. We're so fortunate here at our head office that we have Kingsway Consulting that specialize in mental health. They're really want to change the feel about the importance, not just of having mental health coach, but the
Yeah.
nutrition aspect of it and lifestyle. That's
And
significant.
it is, and that's the holistic part of it. Is I think a lot of people seem to think that the body system's all like disconnected, but they're not, and that's where I think the gut and the brain,
Yep.
they're very connected with each other. So in that case, then what kind of different foods are out there really to sort of help gut health and affect mood? And like you mentioned before, sort of with like the junk food, obviously we all kind of know like junk food's not great for us, but what is it actually doing to sort of those systems of our gut brain health?
Yeah, well, we have in this ecosystem all kinds of bugs, pathogen, virus, bacteria, and now we're really seeing other bugs that's coming on board. It's infinite. But when we're eating refined carbohydrates, soybean oil, pro-inflammatory food, we understand this. It's really not feeding and nourishing these bacteria. These bacteria are there for us to break down nourishing food, to transport nutrients, really, so they go on autopilot because they have many healthy functions to do with the body, prevention, so forth, so on. But another thing too, we're seeing with science that when we're not nourishing, we have alcohol, fast food, refined carbohydrates, sugar.
Mhm.
Basically, we're starving these microorganisms, and they start feeding on our own mucus flora in our own body. It
Interesting.
starts attacking your own body, so that's really not a good thing.
Right.
And the truth is, our body's tolerant, but as we know, when it comes to autoimmune and chronic disease, they manifest itself over time, right? And
Right.
that's what's sneaky about it. It's not like we eat junk food today and we feel it tomorrow. Over time, you will. But when you're nourishing yourself, the opposite happens. I was just publishing a quick article the other day about the fire retardant in vehicles and furniture right now. And I joke, I just said, stop driving your car. But the reality in high heat in the summer, when we come in, we're exposed to this. When you're nourishing your gut, it's like having a good financial plan.
Yeah.
Bad luck happens, but you have the cash to fix that roof. You're not using a credit card with a lot of interest.
Right.
So when your gut is well nourished, you have the right food and right nutrients. You have these coping mechanisms and these kind of action figure that can really take on some stress for a duration of time, not forever. So it's a huge advantage because there's things we don't have control, like the environment. We were just talking before this about the smoke, fire
Yeah.
going in the woods, right?
Yeah.
So it's infinite the amount of benefit and protection we get when we nourish ourselves with whole food. I'm a huge, huge advocate to the next level of fiber because fiber is fertilizer for our probiotics. They need an energy, that fuel. I'm a big fan of polyphenols. Of course, I like olive oil and the polyphenol in olive oil. It's against fertilizer to your gut flora and omega-3 fats. There's many things, but man, they need it to strive. If you really want to live longer, better, and healthier, need to have a complement of all of these.
Right.
All the fruits and vegetables, they have everything in there. Your body knows what to do exactly once you absorb them, right?
Right.
So yeah, the importance of food, I cannot say enough.
It's interesting because it's like when a lot of people sort of say, well, how can that, person eat, whatever they want and they can stay slim and stuff? Like you said, it's kind of like putting it into a bank account. And if you have something that you've built in there that's great, a little bit of junk food's not going to do too much. But if you've chronically done this over time, it's like kind of stacking cards up and like seeing when it's going to, like the domino effect's going to fall down, right? And that seems to be a lot where a lot of people are having like autoimmune issues and skin issues and things like going on with like depression and things like that are coming up. So what other specific dietary things could you kind of give individuals to support sort of optimizing gut health? What came to mind when you were talking about omega-3s and everything was anti-inflammatory foods. Maybe what's your take on things like kombucha or sauerkraut, things that sort of
Oh yeah, fermented. Like
yeah.
we're probably going to talk about this, which supplements so forth there is. But I'm a food-based kind of guy first, and of course, not everybody likes fermented food. Number one on my list, because it's a company from Nova Scotia. I like coconut culture.
Okay.
It has 21 strains of. It has a broad spectrum of diversity of bacteria that you need for your whole digestive system. Kombucha is wonderful. I always suggest my clients that a key trick, it's not 100%, but it's like 80%, to make sure that 500 ml of kombucha doesn't have more than 7 grams of sugar.
Okay.
Otherwise, it means it hasn't been fully fermented, right? You want the full fermentage. Kimchi, sauerkraut, these are amazing for your gut health and beyond your gut health because they have nutrients, they have fiber, they're amazing for your immune system, but they also complement a good diet. It's good to have with meat, sausage, so forth, so on. And while we're talking about this, and I've addressed this, the quality of your protein is significant because microdosing, we know it's starting to be more popular with the mushroom industry, but I'm not talking about this. When we eat monoculture feedlots that has antibiotic, those trace amount of antibiotic, it's not the dose right away, but over 10 years has a negative impact. We have the science on this on our gut microbiome. So you want to have animal base that has no antibiotic, animal base that's not necessarily fed in grain. Fish should be wild only, right? You get all those right other constituents than omega-3 because omega-3 has other constituents to be better absorbed. If you look at sockeye salmon, for example, of course it's an endangered species, but out of the 7 species of salmon, it's the only one that cannot be engineered or feed engineered crop because it's not a bottom feeder, it's a top feeder from insects, so it doesn't have any environmental contaminant, but the level of astaxanthin, what makes it for the pigmentation of the skin, it's also extremely potent for your gut. So again, instead of buying a supplement here, supplement there, they're good. You can have all this in fatty fish or good animal-based protein.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that as much as there's different camp of the carnivore these days, low carb, keto, vegan, the broader spectrums of what your gut needs will be more in fruits and vegetables, legumes and beans, ancient grains. I know there's a fear of grains now, but there's still good grains you can have. Clinton and I, we still have grains home, but we eat ancient grains. I'm cautious about what I'm eating, what I'm buying. But a combination, if you can learn to make a combination, you'll get a broader range of spectrum because we even haven't surface of what they all necessarily need. We're still at the infancy stage that fiber, certain nutrients is good, but there's zillions of other things we don't know about our gut microbiome.
It's interesting. So it seems like it's more about the quality of what you're talking about in terms of definitely proteins, where you're buying your foods in the first place versus sort of concentrating on, like you said, like specific meal plan types. I think for people, because then it doesn't really matter if they're eating a certain way, they're not really getting anything out of it if it's farm-based proteins and things like that. So kind of the food aside, in terms of somebody that may be struggling with their gut right now and in a bit of a dire situation and trying to kind of get themselves out of it, Could you mention some key supplements that may actually balance their mood and support their mental health using sort of like, I guess, sort of targeting the gut health? Because if we target the gut health, we're going to get to the mental health.
Yeah, well, before we get to probiotics, omega-3 fats, I can't say enough.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of vitamin D3, can't say enough. B complex has a significant impact. Some adaptogenic herbs, right? But if you're going to use a probiotics, I think it's important to use diversity of strain, right? I'm a big fan of natural factor,
Yeah.
but there's many of them out there. It has 12 different strains, and you know what? These strains, whether they're lacto, bafido, some are preferable for your small intestines, some are preferable for your large intestines, your whole digestive system. So I think it's important to really talk to a professional and describe what is your issues, digestive issues, how you're feeling, symptoms, so forth, so we can align you with the right one, the best one.
Right.
There's, and Bethany, as you know, I'm sure you have your own slew of preferred supplements, but I just think that we're stepping into the right direction, that there's not a one size fit all when it comes to
Mhm.
supplements for gut health, right? But the top ones for me are always omega 3s, vitamin D3, and a good variety of strain of probiotics with some fiber.
That's great to know. I find when you mention the probiotics, because I think that is sort of where I think a lot of people need that professional help, because they will kind of say, "Oh, probiotic." They'll just kind of randomly buy something and take it. And usually, when I'm asking them, how come you're taking that? Well, it's a probiotic, or it's something that I heard,
Yep.
I read about it, so therefore I'm taking it. But they don't really know for themselves personally. So, kind of going into that, how does Simply for Life create personalized nutrition plans to sort of improve this health through the diet and give them successful outcomes? Because this seems to be where I think a lot of people are kind of trying to do it themselves, and then they're like, well, now my gut's off, and I'm taking what I thought I was supposed to be taking. So what do you think about that?
Well, most of them are relieved because they're tired of the Google who has an answer for everything, or AI right now. So really, we take time to navigate and spearhead you in the right direction. It's not going to happen on first assessment. We collect data so we can align you with the most precise choice we can make. You know, for example, one of my clients, that he's one of those, he's very fortunate in California, has access to all the testing, kind of over top. And if he's listening to this, we've had that discussion, matter of fact, way too many times. He has extraordinary amount of testing. He's an engineer, so everything is stacked. And
Yeah.
sometimes he intimates me with all his profiles, like, geez, that's going to take 5 hours to talk about this, right? So for him, we know because of his heart and what he's been able to dial in, that Bifidobacterium 299 is the strain he's looking for, because it has exactly the benefits for cardiovascular disease and the type
Hmm.
of DNA that he presents with, right?
Right.
So he was in the past using all kinds of probiotics. He was not getting the effect. So again, to come to a consultant is that we have the ability to pinpoint exactly the right dosage, the
Right.
right amount. So you'll save a lot of money, because you might not like to invest, which is an investment, on a coaching or a nutritionist or a consultant. But the reality, we're saving you time. We're aligning you with progress. And beyond saving you time, we can personalize a lifestyle plan that fits your like and dislikes and your routine. If you have, you're a mother of four, if you have a lot of running around, if you work from the house, or you're on the road, or you travel, that is huge, right?
Yeah.
It's not just trying to eat good on the run 1 or 2 days per week. We can fit it in year round.
Right, exactly. So, besides nutrition, because this kind of came up a little bit in the beginning, but what lifestyle factors do you think are crucial for maintaining the gut brain health and supporting that? Like, what came up for me is like overconsumption of what I feel like we're going into is more coffee, more sugar, more alcohol, more stress, all that kind of stuff. So, what other factors are you seeing as well?
Yeah, and listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, the THC and cannabis audience. That includes you also. because we're using all kinds of jujubes, gummy bears, and all that good stuff. And there's nothing wrong to have a good time. But the game has changed. We're having a good time almost every night now or every weekend, and we're not feeling good about this. So we have all kinds of fillers, constituents in these products. Also, it's not just the raw material you're getting anymore. Alcohol is an issue. Stop smoking and learn to take time to disconnect, to reconnect. That, remember, I was saying the highway, whether you're going to work or not, but forest bathing, just going out in nature, disconnecting, activating your sense, giving yourself permission to meditate or going for a nice walk, allowing yourself to disconnect from blue rays and social media. You know,
Yeah.
95% of what we see on social media, it's not what it is.
Right.
And please, though, when I put something, I'm honest about it. So I'm judging now, I'm saying 95, but you know what? We feel that we're not good enough. We feel because we're comparing ourselves. And I think another one we're not talking about, Bethany, for gut health, stop judging yourself, putting too much
Mhm.
pressure on yourself. That's not good for a gut.
Right.
You know, I grew up with a little bit of insecurity, not too much, but I was part of that. I felt I was not good enough. I left home at an early stage. You know, so the minute you give yourself that freedom, you start feeling better, and it's better for your digestive system too, right? It just controlling your emotions. That's easy to say, but I think that if we can just start by putting less judgment on ourselves and criticizing ourselves less, we'll start loving ourselves more and we'll invest more time on ourselves. When you're in a place of judging yourself, kind of a trap. You know you should be doing something, but you're not doing it. You
Right.
stop doing this, you're more in tune with yourself. And I think that if there was a magic pill that people could take for 30 days that would convert them to a me, myself, and I, just think about themselves, they would strive because they would take the time they need to feel better.
Right. I feel like a lot of it, it's like it comes up as like slow down, because I find there's a lot of what feels like in this day and age time constraint. And people are sort of putting that effort towards, well, my shows and everything else, and the blue, like you said, the blue light around everywhere you go, like there's no sort of disconnection from that in a lot of places. And like you said, just even unplugging sometimes and getting out to nature. Like I think we're big on that ourselves as a family. Like kind of the weekend is for that, getting out in nature, going,
Yep.
we're lucky we have the mountains here. We go to a river, and there's something therapeutic about that, and just breathing in that fresh mountain air, trees all around, and just it reminds you of how small you are. Like you're standing next to these giant mountains and you're like, holy
Yeah.
moly, like this is amazing. And like you said, it's kind of in terms of emotions, when you're kind of thinking about it, like you feel like what you're going through is so, like, not as insignificant, but there's so much more out there in the world, right? And you just sort of kind of feeling trapped in yourself or insecure and things like that, it kind of puts a new perspective, and you come home sort of feeling more refreshed and more centered, I think, as well.
I was, matter of fact, in practice this morning, I was telling you about my mix on schedule. And the lady I was talking to, I've known her for a long time. And I said, I need to ask you personal questions. And this reflects gut health and overall well being. I said, when's the last time you had a belly laugh? And she had
Yeah.
tears. She says, I don't know when. I said, well, do you feel if you stop judging yourself and putting pressure on yourself, you'll have more room? And to
Yeah.
change that with being foolish, it's okay to act like a child. And for me, people, I talk about nutrition, but if you're around me and Claudine, when we drive home, we always make a contest who makes the ugliest face. It's at least 4 or 5 times a week. We look like idiots, and we have, and it's nothing fancy, but at night, at least 3 to 4 times a week, I do kind of stupid dance around her just to make her laugh
Yeah.
because it makes her laugh, right?
Yeah.
And if you would look at me and say, my God, this guy is weird, but I still want to be a child, and I like to act like a
Yeah.
child when I'm around Clinton because it makes us laugh. And that's therapeutic for the mind and the gut also.
It's very much needed, and I understand that too. With sort of working as well and having kids around, and just sometimes you need that goofiness because it sort of changes the
Yes.
atmosphere. If things are tense, you kind of just need to make a joke or something like that.
Yeah,
And that's what we end up doing too. And I think it changes the stress and it brings things down. So I think
absolutely.
that's a great tip. I think just have more fun and laugh. So how can a consultation with Simply for Life for individuals actually help with the gut brain axis?
Well, beyond helping your brain access, it's going to change everything about how you look and feel about yourself. And it's not because of the ability to give you the right wisdoms and words to align you in the right direction. Is when I look at food, and I know you look at it too, and other lifestyle tools, that they have the ability to move you and change you. And life is so short. So when
Hmm.
you come to Simply for Life, we have the ability to make you feel better, longer, so you can live healthier and strive at living healthier. It's just not right that I see, and I know you see it too. You're younger than I am, but we're in a stage in our life. You see people our age, and holy jeez,
Yeah,
it's sad. I don't judge them. I feel sad for them because I don't think they have the energy in them to do regular stuff at night.
right.
So
Yeah,
we give you a bright light. We kind of put the switch back on inside out, because health is not about just looking good outside, it's how we look inside too, right? And that's what
exactly.
we do at Simply for Life very well.
Exactly. I love that. It's more about long-term health and helping people sort of from the
There's no quick fix, you know this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Bruce, today for sharing all of your insights and words of wisdom with us. So, for anybody that was wanting any of the supplements, we'll link to the store and anything for a consultation as well. The link will be there. Don't forget to share this episode with family and friends and stay tuned for more from Simply for Life Journey. In good health, guys.
Thank you, Bethany. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.